The research has shown, because a lot of studies have been conducted, that there is an enormous overlap between LGBTQ plus people and neurodivergent people. If we're looking at a Venn diagram, it's basically just a circle.
I have jokingly said that before, yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of overlap between these communities.
So what has the research shown us about them?
So a couple different things. I know that autistic people are like 70 to 80% self-identify as part of the queer community. That's either having gender differences, being trans, gender non-conforming, gender fluid, something like that, or being gay, bisexual, asexual,
Right.
those sorts of things. There's a huge overlap. So about 70 to 80% of autistic folks identify that way. A huge portion of ADHD folks, OCD folks, dyslexic folks all fall under this category. And there's been different studies to back all of that up. I think if you're autistic specifically, you're 2 to 3 times more likely to identify as trans. But then back and forth, there's a lot of overlap. I think I see, between being between like 2 to 8 times more likely to, if you're neurodivergent, be queer, or if you're queer, identify as neurodivergent.
Yeah, there was a study from this small backwoods school in 2021 from Cambridge University.
Yeah.
It said
Little known school.
It said the study found that autistic adults and adolescents are approximately 8 times more likely to identify with an other sexuality, and that's in quotes, than their non-autistic peers.
Yep.
So if you're autistic, or really, and like you said, we've seen this across neurodivergences.
Yeah.
You're much more likely to identify as not straight, basically.
Yep.
That is so...
Not straight or not cis.
Not straight, not cis. So it has to do with sexuality and gender identity. And that's pretty universally across the board. And we can take a look at the research and kind of know or see that the research indicates that that's true.
Yeah.
But we also, as members of these communities, kind of just know that that's true.
Yeah.
This is kind of a known thing, right?
There is a lot of just like acknowledged overlap between these communities. For instance, I think we're going to get to resources later on, but in some of my like LGBTQ plus affirming groups, people will ask questions about coping with, executive dysfunction or something, because they know that that's a space where people know about these other things.
Yeah.
And yeah, somebody asks about being neurodivergent and the comments are there. People understand what they're talking about and are relating to that and providing assistance. It's really common.
We see it in the comments on our social media. We had a comment recently, like, I love the overlap between autism and LGBTQ plus. And we went to a drag show recently in our little small town in central North Carolina. And one of the performers like brazenly announced that they're autistic as well as gay, which was very funny. And then the crowd went wild, indicating what we already knew, which was that the crowd was generally pretty autistic and gay.
Yeah, they really related to those things. That was their community.
It's so interesting to me that there's this wide overlap. And what other ways do we think that I'm trying to think, what other ways do these communities kind of acknowledge one another as being one and the same?
You mean outside things they have in common? I'm not sure what you're asking.
I guess what I'm getting at is I just want to restate, like, the research indicates that this relationship exists, but we just kind of know it anecdotally as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that... I guess we're going to get into the why in a second, but I think that there's a lot of acknowledged overlap, and if you go to like a neurodivergent affirming like support group, there are going to be a lot of queer folks there. In fact, I started working with the neurodivergent community because I was working with LGBTQ plus folks, and the more that I was making that known at the university I was working at, the more I ended up working with folks who were ADHD, autistic, OCD, dyslexic, all of those things, because there was a big overlap.